Hey everyone, welcome to our Wednesday call. And today we're going to talk about how to talk about animal Reiki, which is kind of backwards. I probably should have started with this instead of talking about presenting animal Reiki first, but it all comes together really neatly. And again, you have that pamphlet. Oh, let me mute everybody. Um, you have the pamphlet that I created that actually tells you everything about animal Reiki for shelters. And what I'm thinking about when I was preparing for this call today, we do have a handout that's, what is animal Reiki on the Shelter Animal Reiki site. But I'm thinking it might just even be a little too much. I think it's 2 or 3 pages. And so what I thought I would create is just a really short, like kind of, here are the high points, right? Here are the high points about what we offer. Here are the high points about what an animal can expect. And here are the high points about what humans can expect. And then to go from there, that's something really easy you can hand out to anyone, not just shelters, but it can support you in when you're talking about animal Reiki to groomers or to your vet or to anybody really. So I'm thinking that I'll create something very simple for all of you to use because I'm big on, it's very hard. I remember when I first started out with Kathleen in 2007. And back then, we weren't talking about meditation at all. So it was really hard to talk about animal Reiki. And you get kind of flubbed up. And even though you might be practicing it and you might know it, when you have to talk about it, it's sometimes you kind of stumble over your words and go, it's just a really good thing. You should just be on board with it, right? And I just remember getting frustrated and going, what am I not saying to get people to understand the benefits of animal Reiki? And luckily, around 2009, the clarity came in that really this practice is a meditation practice. It's not Reiki. And I know this is really controversial. Even people in SARA will say that's not true. But when we look at the roots of Reiki, when we go back to Asui didn't use hands-on. Asui used meditation. So we're actually in alignment with the original beginnings of Reiki. Asui used the precepts, which that's our foundation. Asui used meditations, that's our foundation. Usui did not use hands-on, and we do not use hands-on. So we're very much in alignment with original Reiki. But when you say the word Reiki now to anybody in the public, they know the Western Reiki because thankfully there are so many Western Reiki practitioners out there. And for humans, Western Reiki is phenomenal. I go to get Reiki. I have friends that do Reiki. It is a phenomenal practice and it's very healing for humans. But for animals, when we talk about Reiki, hands-on healing is not helpful. Focusing on what's wrong is not helpful. Forcing our energy on an animal when they're penned up or they're tied up is not acceptable, right? And so that's when you get the no's, is when you're not being respectful of the animal. So when we're talking about Reiki, we have to be really careful because it's like we're walking in a minefield. We're walking, it's like if the person knows what Reiki is, then they're going to assume we do hands-on, that maybe we even mix animal communication in there. I mean, there's all these things that people assume when we say the word Reiki. But if we start out by saying, hey, I meditate with animals, and it's really helpful, that changes the whole dynamic of the conversation. Because people, especially now in today's age, with all the different meditation apps, with all the different hospitals using meditation to help support their patients, with corporations incorporating meditation, Google has a complete meditation program. Meditation is very popular and it's very well understood. And there are studies for days on the benefits of meditation. When we talk about studies for Reiki, we're talking about hands-on healing studies. So yesterday, Melody, and I'm really grateful to Melody for sending in this question. She said, hey, can you talk about studies for Reiki? So a lot of times if we're going to talk about Reiki, we're going to say, oh, and there's these studies about it. We want to have scientific proof that this works. Well, here's the problem with animal Reiki. If we give people Reiki studies, that's not really in alignment with what we're doing. We don't use hands-on. We're not focused on what's wrong. And we're not, beaming energy or manipulating energy. We're not doing anything like that. We're just creating a space. So if we hand somebody Reiki studies, then it's going to confuse the issue. But if you hand them meditation studies, they actually will understand that, because our practice is a meditation-based practice. When we're sitting with an animal, we're meditating. We're not trying to direct, we're not trying to heal, we're meditating. And so now you can use all the benefits of meditation to explain the benefits of animal Reiki. The practitioner feels at peace. The animal feels at peace. The animal can actually relax in that loving energy that we've created through meditation. And the most important part is the animal can choose whether or not to connect. And that's really important in what we're sharing about what we do. Because if we go into a vet's office, or we go into a shelter, or we go somewhere where the animals, they're very protective of what's going to happen to their animals, like a groomer's office, we want to show that we're respectful of that we're not trying to beam or trying to corner an animal or trying to fix or heal, because that's where we get into trouble. If we go in and say, oh, I'm going to fix or I'm going to heal this animal, we're immediately saying, okay, the animal's broken. The animal needs us to come in, be the great healer, and I'm going to heal you. And we actually take away all that animal's agency, and we start to see that animal as lesser than, because now we're the healer. You're broken. I'm going to heal you. I'm going to fix you. And the reality is, no matter how broken an animal seems on the outside, their spirit is still strong. And that is what we're connecting with. Now, that's harder to say when you're going to talk to a groomer or a vet on the spiritual level, or, like Kathleen says a lot, heart-to-heart connection. And that's great. And that is at the root of it, that is what we're doing, is a heart-to-heart connection. But sometimes if you say, well, I'm creating a heart-to-heart connection with the animal, people might go, well, what does that even, I don't know what that means. Like, what is heart-to-heart connection? I mean, that's, some people might not get that. So when we can talk in really simple terms, oh, I'm meditating. Everybody, okay, oh, meditating. I'm creating a calm space. Oh, okay, I can get that, right, with meditation. And then I allow the animal to choose whether or not to join me. That's something. Then people go, oh, that's interesting. So you give that animal permission. That's weird. And then when we do, guess what happens with the animal? Whenever we ask permission, when we say, hey, I'd like to sit here, I'm going to create a space, we say to the animal, you can take as little or as much as you want, or none at all. It's completely up to you. The animal goes, Scooby-Doo ears. What? You're going to give me permission? That's different. So now they're a little bit curious. They're like, okay, she's not making me. And they might even test you. They might walk away. Oh, well, how much freedom is she going to give me? And then we just sit there, keep meditating, and they come back. I've had animals like walk away and then like peek around the corner, say, is she really going to give me permission? And when you do, when you're just like, I'm not going to pay attention, I'm meditating. Whether you want to join me or not, I'm still going to meditate. And then they're like, okay, all right. And then you start to get that buy-in. And so that's really what the magic is that we know, right? But how do we share that? How do we say that to people? Well, the best way to say that is just to say, I show respect to the animal. I honor the animal's agency. I don't force myself on the animal. I don't force my energy. I just meditate and I invite the animal to join me. And then they can go, I wonder, well, what does that look like? And you can kind of explain, well, the animal might lay in front of me. The animal might lay across from me. The animal might decide to go drink and eat and then maybe lay outside wherever we are. That's okay. There's different ways an animal can show acceptance. But when we can show right away that we're not forcing anything, it actually will open more doors for you. And I had an example of this. Is there was this horse rescue that I was dying to get into. It was by this man, Sam. It was in Santa Cruz, and it was a very small horse rescue. He only had 6 horses. But one of my friends was good friends with him, and I kept telling her, oh my God, I'd love to go share Reiki with these horses, because they were all different kinds of levels of trauma. Like the lead horse, Destiny, had a lot of trauma. She was supposed to be put down because she was a violent horse. And then there was a little halfling, and he was a biter. And then there was an old show horse, and he had issues. There was an old race horse that had issues with cribbing. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to get out there. Well, it took me a long time, but I finally got out there. And the first horse I worked with was Will, who was a racehorse, a retired racehorse, who was cribbing. So that means he's chewing on the fence, which is really bad for their digestion. It's bad for their jaws. It's bad for their teeth. Very bad. So he was cribbing. And Sam said, this is Will, okay, you can work with Will. I said, okay, great. So Will's in a stall, and I sat outside the stall and I turned my back to Will and I just started meditating. And Sam said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going to meditate. And he said, well, aren't you going to go in with him? And I said, no, I don't need to. I'm just going to sit. I'm going to meditate. I've invited Will to join me if he wants. And if he doesn't, fine too. And I had already kind of explained it to Sam, but when they see you doing it, it's different, right? So you can explain it, but once they see it in action, they're like, wait a second, I thought you were going to do this. Because no matter what you say to people, they have a preconceived notion in their brain. I experience this with the cannabis business all the time. So in my cannabis business, I didn't make them. I distributed bakery decorations. So like, when you get chocolates and they have those really beautiful designs, those are called transfers. So I distributed transfers that had a THC symbol on it. And then you put it on the food. And so, 100% of the time people go, I totally get that. And then I would give them a sample and they go, oh, wow. Oh, that's not what I thought this was at all. So, there's always a disconnect from what you're saying to people and what they go, oh yeah, I get it. So with Sam, even though I explained what I was going to be doing, when he saw it in action, he's like, wait a second, this isn't making sense to me. Because if you say you're going to work with a horse, you're going to be with a horse, he expected me to be in with that horse, right? But I told him, I said, that's really disrespectful for me, a stranger, to go in with the horse and start imposing my energy on him. And he was like, wow. So I sat out, I did a meditation, and Will completely relaxed, stopped cribbing. And Sam was like, okay, I got to learn what this is. Had I gone in there and said to Sam, I'm doing Reiki and it's not this, it's a Japanese, blah, 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 he would have gone, it's too much information. But if I can keep it simple and say, I'm just going to meditate, I'm going to create a space. It's just a really comforting space for animals. And remember, animals, they communicate with energy. They don't communicate with words. It's energy. So if I'm going in there and my energy is big and I'm like, I'm going to heal you, that energy is coming at the animal. But if I'm passive, and this is a great way to explain it, I'm just passively creating a beautiful, loving space. And now the horse can join me. And we had some amazing experiences with these horses because of that honoring of them, who they are, where they are at in their lives, and not expecting anything more from them than what they're willing to give. So when you're talking about animal Reiki, just keep it really simple. You're talking about meditation, and then you can talk about the benefits. Animals feel relaxed. When they're relaxed, they can heal. And that's, there's studies that show when we're in high beta, when we're stressed, we can't heal as fast. But when you're relaxed, when you feel safe, then you can heal. So a lot of times with animals, they'll be all upset and tense, but then when they can actually relax, that's when true healing can occur. Whether it's letting go of a habit like Will with cribbing, or maybe it's just being able to finally relax in a shelter. I know Monica can talk about this. Monica's here from Croatia, and she can talk about that, how like with Heart, a dog that was incredibly stressed out, just by Monica going in and offering just that little pocket of peace, it built on itself. It didn't happen overnight with Heart, but it did build upon itself. And then that's where we can empower these animals. And then when they feel empowered, they feel safe, they feel comforted, they feel loved, they feel seen. Now they can start to heal. So for Heart, it was healing her fear of humans. And Monica really helped her. And I don't know, Monica, if you want to unmute and talk a little bit about that, because that was a really beautiful story.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, Heart is a special story for me and special experience. I have lots of experience with offering comfort to our dogs in the shelter. And I think maybe every day I have some experiences, so it's really kind of magical sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. What I love though, Monica, was, when Heart came in, Heart was very fearful of humans. And it took you a while, right, you just kept.
It actually took me for weeks. She was really stressed out. She was panicking. She wanted to escape. She wanted to hide. She was constantly pacing around, constantly moving. She couldn't have rest at all. And since it was lasting for a long time, of course, I had some days when I was like, oh my God, it will never stop. I don't know how she will live like this. But I was just continuing, and I was just patient.
Mm-hmm.
And she taught me lots of about patience. And finally, when she surrendered, I actually realized what Let Animals Lead method is all about. At that moment, I really realized that's it. Now she trusts me. It took me a while, but now she trusts me. And after that moment, I could do everything with her. And she surrendered completely at that moment. She needed time, but after that moment, when I first touched her, when she first time laid it down next to me, it was just moment of everything changed after that.
I love that.
She still has issues with new situations, with new people. She's still sometimes in panic, but it's really, really, really a lot less than it was when she came. So I think she has better life now, and I'm thankful for that.
Much better life. And Jemmy gave you a heart on that. That's such a beautiful story. What I love most too is that, and you work in, so for those of you who don't know, Monica works in a shelter. She's staff in a shelter that has 500 animals in Croatia. And they get a lot of bad cases. But, what I love about Monica's story is that, first of all, Monica let heart, even though she has this great modality and she's really hoping heart will accept it, she just kept it up for weeks, because we have to allow, we say we allow the animal's choice, but then we can, we have to be honest. Sometimes when we're with them, we're like, oh, why won't you accept this? Why won't you accept this? Why won't you let this happen? And we can't, we just have to, that's our ego telling us that there is a time limit, or there has to look a certain way. And the reality is these animals have choice just as much as we do. And we have to allow them that choice. And I love that Monica did, because when we do, then you can have these really beautiful experiences. And this is a story, you could take to a shelter or to a vet. That this isn't a cure-all, this Reiki. We're not trying to tell you that this is the be-all end-all of something. What this does, though, it create comfort, right, Monica?
I have one recent experience that I can share if you want.
Yes, please.
So maybe some of you know I had puppies at home that I was feeding with bottle that were 3 days old when they were found in the field. And they stayed with me for 2 months. They are not here anymore. They're in another foster home because I didn't have enough space for them. But after like month and a half, some of them got ill, and one was pretty ill. He had some bacteria, and I was really worried about him. But I often offered them Reiki, and I meditated with them like I do with my animals. And this one day I was sitting on the floor meditating, and he was in separate crate because he was not feeling well. His siblings were fighting and playing and barking, and I was really like, oh, what are you doing? And he was in really, really deep sleep. And I did Joshin Kokyuho meditation, and I tried to do it for a longer time than usual. And I was like, oh my God, why are you so loud? And you're it's not working, but okay, I will just continue to offer. Maybe someone will take something from it. And I went in deeper meditation, and something like woke me up. And it was this ill puppy who came out sniffing my hands.
Oh.
And at that moment, I was covered in tears because I knew he accepted it. And it really meant a lot for me because, again, I was like, okay, it is working.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, he died 3 days later, and it was really hard experience for me, but I was with him. He was lying on my heart, and I was comforting him. I was telling him, all is well. You are loved. If you need to go, I let you go. And it was really hard and sad. But after that, I felt peace in my heart. And even though it's a sad story, I know he is in peace.
No, it is a sad story. It's always hard, especially puppies, to let
Yeah.
them.
And especially because he grew up in my hands, he was like with me all day long for 2 months. And yeah, I didn't expect that, but I allowed it to happen. And I think I helped him to leave this world in peace.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and this is the gift that we offer, is that we can't fix or
Yes, that's what I wanted. You said we are not fixing, we are not healing, and it doesn't have to be healed,
right.
but we offer peace and love and light, and that's huge.
And that's so important, and it not only helped him, but it helped you as
Yeah.
well, right? And that's
Yes.
the gift that we
Yes.
can offer to others when we do this. I've had that same experience, and usually, if there's a family and they're losing their animal, when we can all be together, then it's really powerful how they can heal their heart as well. And it's just a beautiful space to create to help an animal transition, because they're transitioning feeling loved, seen, heard, appreciated. That's a huge difference between an animal that just dies on their own or doesn't die with that extra support. And it's just a gift that we can offer to animals, and a service that we can bring to shelters, vets offices, groomers, wherever that is. This is something that's really powerful. And I really appreciate you sharing that, Monica, because not every ending is a happy ending, but it's not unhappy necessarily. You think about, they're going to a better place. They're going to a place where they won't ever be in pain, where it's freedom on the other side.
Yeah.
We want them to stay here, and it's that ego thing, right? Where we cling to that. But it's, if we can let that go and just allow things to happen the way they're supposed to, then it brings peace to everybody. Yeah, Mary Lynn says a bittersweet story. Definitely.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for that, Monica. I really appreciate it. And we really appreciate all the wonderful work you're doing in Croatia with
Thank
the
you so much.
So grateful to you for being here. You know, one of the things that this brings up as well is that the thing that I had said in the email, one of the things that Kathleen has always said, she used to say this to me when I very first learned animal Reiki in 2007. I told her in level 1, shelter animals were my love. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't have the strength to go into a shelter, but she actually helped me with that. And what she would say, and she said this to herself in the mirror every morning or every time she would go to the shelter. When she didn't feel like going, she would say, if I don't go, who will? If I'm not there to offer this beautiful space, who will? Right? If I'm not there to bring my energy, who will? And maybe you're at a shelter where there's other Reiki practitioners, and that's wonderful. But remember, your light helps ignite the light in others. So one of the things you can say to yourself when you're not feeling very secure, you're not feeling very confident, just remind yourself, if I don't do this, who will? And remember, again, find your why. We've got to find our why. We've got to know why we're doing this. Why do we want to share Animal Reiki? Why do we want people to know about Animal Reiki? The more we can get our why dialed in, then it becomes much easier for us to talk about it. So I want to open it up to all of you. I'm going to go over some high points just really quickly on what I've written, and I'll share this. I'll make a little thing, but one of the things that we can, here's the things that we can talk about. So we can, the 6 pillars. One of the greatest things we have to show people immediately this is what we do, right? It's mindfulness and meditation. That's what we're doing. We focus on all as well. So we're not focused on what's wrong. It's a respectful and non-invasive approach, right? We're just meditating. They can join us. There's adaptability and flexibility. We can move. We don't have to be in a certain place or a certain position. And then it's a partnership, right? For mutual healing. We actually enjoy the benefits as much as the animals do. And I think that that's an important fact to share, is that when I meditate with the animals, I actually get a lot from that, and I feel better and I feel happier, because when you can share that, then people are like, oh, wow, okay, well, that's interesting. I would like to feel that as well. And then we talk about the benefits, right? It's gentle and non-invasive for the animals. It prioritizes stress reduction and relaxation by creating this calm space. It's stress management and trauma recovery, right? So we help animals kind of deal with their trauma when we can create a safe space for them to then process it. One of the benefits of this modality is that we support the emotional needs of animals. So in a shelter or anywhere, they can have food, they can have shelter, they can have enrichment, they can have medical care, they can have playtime. But if their emotional needs are not being met, then something's missing. And that's actually what we're able to provide for animals. And then support during end of life care. So just like what Monica was saying, this method offers a very peaceful space for animals during the dying process. And you can see how that animal, the little puppy, acknowledged Monica and the energy she was sharing. And that was so beautiful. And then for humans, right? So when humans learn this method, it manages their stress, their anger, it helps combat compassion fatigue, and it fosters resilience and compassion. And then it brings emotional balance. So when we do this practice, we have more emotional balance, where we're not tipped too far towards anger or too far towards, being emotive, being sad, being, empathetic. We're all empathetic beings here, but we need that grounding to give us that strength, so that when we're being empathetic, we're not being overly empathetic. And then this is a really trustworthy approach. We're not trying to manipulate or change things. We have an ethical and respectful approach. We have the code of ethics. We don't mix animal Reiki with animal communication. We keep things very clean. And it's why we encourage people to study the Let Animals Lead Way, because you're learning a method that was created very specifically for animals. And we have lots of classes coming up. So if you haven't studied with the Let Animals Lead method, I really encourage you to. And it's why in SARA, we insist that everybody study the Let Animals Lead Way, because we all want to be talking and sharing about it in the same way, and we do. And so the trustworthiness, we have an ethical and respectful approach. We're all trained and committed practitioners, right? And we partner and collaborate with whoever we're working with. We're not trying to take over. We're not trying to change. We're trying to collaborate. So those are all just like a very simple way to share. Here's what I do in very simple terms. And I will make this in a little handout for all of you so that you can then share it with whoever you need to. If you don't have the shelter pamphlet, I'm only going to be offering that. I think this is the last time I'm going to be offering it. And then in order to get it, you'll have to join SARA as a community member. The community membership to join SARA, you don't have to have studied with us. It's open to anyone. It's $50 a year, and it gives you access to all of our meetings. It gives you access to certain special things that we do, but it also gives you access to certain of our handouts that we don't give to the public. So that is one benefit of joining SARA. So I want to open it up to all of you to ask questions, because we do have a lot to cover, and we still have, a good 20 minutes. Just really quickly, Mary Lynn, I know you have a story to share, so we will get to you at the end. Oh, Mary Lynn asked if, good, Kelly's here. Mary Lynn asked if we use the symbols. Yes, we absolutely use the symbols, but we use the symbols in a different way. So traditionally, Western way, they're more outward. But for the symbols for us, like Chokurei is grounding. So we use Chokurei, we bring it into our body, and we ground ourselves. Because when we're grounded, we're strong, and we can handle things like what Monica dealt with the puppy. If you're not strong, you can't handle that. You can't be that support system for that sick puppy. But when you have Chokurei, when you have that inner strength, when you're connected to your earth, then now you can have strength. So you might still feel sad, but you have that deep inner strength. Then Seihei Ki, That is traditionally a harmony symbol, but with Seiheki for us, it's the expansive symbol. So with Seiheki, it's almost like a tree, right? The expansiveness of the branches, it reaches out. We look at Seiheki too as, so if you have a problem, like let's say this is cancer and my hands are my brain and my mind is just consumed with the cancer. What Seiheki does is Seiheki brings us space. So when we practice Seiheki, we get some distance. So now the cancer is still there, but now I have some space. So I can start to see, well, maybe there's some solutions, right? So if you're working with an animal, if you're consumed with what's wrong with the animal and your brain is like this, there's no space for something else to come through. But when we can do our meditation, we can bring in the Seiheki energy. Now we have space. Now we can go, oh, okay, I see this problem, but actually it's not really a problem, because the more space you give, the smaller that problem becomes, until it's just like way back here, because now your mind is so expansive. Now your mind has a space to bring in solutions, or to bring in whatever it is that you're looking for this issue. I always liken it to being in a crowded room. You're one person in a very crowded room and everybody's trying to get your attention and talk to you. But with meditation, with Seiheki, the room starts to empty. And now you're in this huge room and there's just a few people, which is your mind and your thoughts. But now you can actually hear what's trying to come through. So you give yourself that space. And then with Honshaze Shonen, traditionally in Western, it is distant. But even if I'm sitting across from you, like let's say Jemmy and I are together and I'm sitting across from Jemmy, there's still distance. We're not like merged together. But Honshaze Shonen is the connection symbol. So when we're grounded through Chokurei, when we're expansive through Seiheki, now we don't have all of the blocks, all of the boundaries. We've cleared that with Seiheki. We're deep and grounded like a tree. Now we can connect easily with any and all beings. So that's the connection symbol. There is no distance, because we are all, and this is quantum physics, we're all connected. But in this beautiful space of Honshaze Shonen, when we've let go of all of our worries and all of our anger and anything that's holding us back, now in that space, we can easily connect. So that's a little bit more, but I just wanted to explain briefly, that's the let animals lead version of the symbols and mantras. And that's what you'll learn in a class. And so, and then Lisa commented on Alice's kitty. And then, let's see. Yes, Mary Lynn, it's a non-threatening approach. And Kelly's here, yay. And so, okay, great. Thank you, Lisa. I'm glad you like that explanation. So, Kelly, so glad you're here. We're just talking about how we explain Reiki, animal Reiki. And I was saying at the beginning how our system is more in alignment with Asui's original system, because we don't use hands-on, and how the studies, Reiki studies actually aren't the best for us because they focus on the hands-on aspect. So I'm advising people to use meditation as for meditation studies as those. And there are meditation studies with animals. In fact, I was just reading one today that was done after COVID about people with their animals, and they gave a small study group, I think it was only 75 participants, mindfulness exercises to do with dogs that they had adopted and during the lockdown, and how they found that they were happier or more peaceful by meditating and practicing mindfulness with their dog. So a study like that is a really great study, and I'll include a link to that in fact, let me make a note because I don't want to forget. I'll include a link to that study with the dogs, because that's a really great one to use, especially if you're going to go to a shelter or something. Just go, here's a great study, and this is what we're doing. We're enhancing that human animal bond through meditation. There's a really simple way to explain it. But Kelly, I don't know if you want to say anything about, like, when you're talking about animal Reiki, because Kelly's been doing this a very long time. She learned regular Reiki in 1998. And I think you started studying with Kathleen in 2006, Kel?
2008.
Oh, 2008. Oh, I always think you were studied before me, but yeah, so the year after. But so you've gone to, I think you have 6 shelters that you've brought on. And so how do you talk about Reiki, animal Reiki?
So pretty much what you said. I mean, I just talk about how it's really not necessary for us to touch the animals at all. and, talk about the difference between human Reiki and animal Reiki. And as a side note, really, animal Reiki has informed how I practice with humans in a way, especially when I work with people who are in hospice, or when I was doing work with hospitals. It's wonderful for them to see that it works without even touching. And we also see that anyways, when we're working with people and we're slightly off the body. I mean, we learned that in level 1, when we're doing chair treatment, that we can be on the body or off the body in the aura area. And it's just this powerful. And some people actually prefer it that way. So I always give one of my favorite stories, and some of you guys I know have heard this, is the one where I was working with a dog who was in a fenced-in yard, and he wanted to get on the porch, but he didn't want to cross in front of me. And I was just standing there, doing my Joshin Kokyuho breathing, expanding the energy from my hara, and just feeling that beautiful light expanding. And the dog just kept going like this, but he wouldn't go in front of me. And finally, I was like, well, I'm going to step back further. And I did. And he went as far away from me as he could get and got on the porch. So, just that expansiveness of our own energy is what they're sensing. So it's really important for us not to be just going over and putting our hands on them like we would. We can ask a person permission, but we don't always know until we try with an animal what's going to happen. So it's really important for us to approach without hands, and just being in this peaceful space. And we're talking about that came in when you were talking about the symbols and mantras, and how important that is for us to develop ourselves. And that's another thing I talk about, is that we work on ourselves constantly to clear our own energy, to be stronger, to be more peaceful and calm, which is what the animals are responding to.
And I think that too, I think the reason people are really open to you, Kelly, is that, you do practice every day. And so when you approach a shelter or approach people, you're very calm and you're very loving. And I think that that's also something we have to watch like you were saying, watch our energy, because our energy is huge. We think we're just all confined, but our energy is so huge. So we have to watch our energy with people too, because even though we may not be saying something, our energy says a lot. And we all know this. Like, when someone walks up to you and says, I'm fine, and you're not fine, even if they're smiling, or when somebody sits next to you, or you're somewhere and you're just like, oh, this person's really off, you can feel their energy. So I think that that's such a great point about our own energy and our own practice, so that when we are talking about this, we aren't attached to them saying yes to it. We're not attached to them saying, oh, I want to learn this. Because they may not want to. They may have objections to this. And I'm going to provide just a second sheet on what you can say about objections. And this was something I just ran through AI. I'm just going to be completely honest. But this is the one thing I love about AI. I sometimes have a really hard time concisely saying what I mean, right? So I'll say to AI, hey, Bard, because I use Bard and ChatGPT. And Bard, I think, sometimes is a little better. But I'll say, hey, Bard, here's the benefits. And I copy and paste something like from SARA's site or from Kathleen's site. I need to summarize this, and I need to be able to explain it to somebody in really simple terms. And then AI goes, oh, here you go. So I did that with an objection. Hey, Bard, I want to offer this animal Reiki, but they're going to have an objection to it. How can I do this? What can I say to them? And so Bard spit something out. So I'm going to share that with all of you, because it's going to help you just a little bit. I will get objections, and it's okay. It's okay. Everybody is at their own learning pace. Remember that. You can't force somebody, right, Kelly? Even though we love it so much, you can't force somebody to be open to it. You have to meet everybody where they are.
That's also, like, we're so passionate about what we do, and we want everybody to get it and get the benefits. But we have to be, when we're going into the shelter situation, be very cautious, because there are a lot of people who are just like, the staff is used to people coming and going. They come in all gung-ho, they're going to help the animals and work at the shelter, volunteer at the shelter, and then they disappear and they don't come anymore. So, they see it all there. They can't hold on to staff a lot of times because the work is so hard and stressful and, sad a lot of times. So when we're coming in there, we've got this passion, and we're all excited about what we do, and rightfully so. We have to temper it a little bit so that we don't scare them off. And they're like, oh my God, this person, we have to be very cautious about, how we're presenting that information.
I love that you said that, because that is so true. And I was guilty of that in the beginning. You're just so excited. You just want, and you're just like, what, why aren't you getting this? What about this don't you get? It's okay if they don't get it. Cause like I said last week, in the cannabis industry, I would meet people, I would give them product, I would give them samples, all this stuff, and they'd be all gung ho. And then I would hear nothing. And 2 years later, they'd come back. So it's more important that you make a positive impression. It doesn't matter if they accept you. Just make that positive, loving, kind impression. Never force yourself. Just like, it may not be for you. And that's another thing. If you say, hey, this might be for you, all of a sudden they go, well, you don't know that. Maybe I do want this. It starts to kick in. It's like, this probably isn't something you would like. Yeah, actually. And they're like, no, tell me more. But, whether it's sometimes with your vet, like a lot of you may not be in shelters, and that's totally fine. We sponsor this, the Shelter Animal Reiki Association, but we also support people in all animal areas, whether it's like at a pet food store. Like we have Mel, who's a great member, and she's always going to pet food at the Express or PetSmart, and she's, spreading her light and spreading what she does. But so you might have different areas. It may not be the shelter, but it's the same kind of rules apply. Just always be kind, be open. And if you can, and I'm going to give you some handouts, share the handout and say, look, this is what I do. And this is what the animal experiences. And then you can even have your little objection sheet too, where you can like start to say, yeah. But also, I can tell you what to say. Kelly can tell you what to say. Really read the materials, think about your own experiences, and then figure out a way to talk about it, and practice in the car, practice in the shower, keep talking, practice, because the more you practice, the easier it's going to be for you to just rattle off exactly what it is that you do and share your experience. But if you don't ever talk about it and you wait until you're out somewhere, it's very uncomfortable. I used to do that. And then I just said, you know what, I'm just going to practice. And so I just started practicing and talking about it. And I started talking about it more at work, because to be honest, I was working in a law firm at the time I learned Animal Reiki. And it felt very uncomfortable to talk about what I did, because it was so opposite of what these corporate hacks were into. But as I did my practice and as I got more comfortable with myself and how I was feeling, and I started sharing it, they were all actually really interested. And I had attorneys coming up and say, my cat's really sick or my dog's really sick. Could you tell me what it is you do again? And maybe you could help. And so I was able to help people. So then that kind of got me out of that. But, and we all have to acknowledge we're doing something that's really uncommon. Like we talked about a month ago, this is uncommon. And so we have to give people that space to kind of go, oh, okay, what is this? And then they have to have the space to kind of think about it and understand it. But if you keep talking about it, or they keep seeing you doing it, or you keep sharing these amazing stories that you have to share, then they're going to go, oh, wow, there is something to this, maybe. And maybe I don't understand it, but there is something to it. And back then I was talking animal Reiki. I wasn't talking meditation. I would have gotten way faster buy-in had I been talking meditation, because even back then people knew what that is. So I would love to open it up. We have a few minutes. I'd love to open it up to all of you. You can just unmute. You can raise your hand if you want. And we can talk about, and then Mary Lynn, I'll get to you at the very end about your story. But I'd like to open it up to questions or to comments or to shares. Like I know Beth and Judy are in shelters if you want to share it all. And don't be shy. This is a totally safe place. No wrong answers, especially for people who are new. You come and you ask, you think, oh, I'm sure everybody knows this. How many times have we had this, Kelly? And we're like, oh my God, that's such a great question, because it never comes up. And so we should talk about it. So any question is a good question, I promise you. So anyone want to unmute? And
can I just add something real quick?
Yes, please.
Just remember not to give up too. I mean, you may get a no and it come back a month later and it's a new director, or somebody who's read up or heard more about it and are more interested. And also it's okay to ask, could you tell me what your reasons are for not, being interested? Is there something I could maybe clear up for you or whatever? So that, we have that information anyway. They may still say no, but at least we'll have some information on, what to think about when we're presenting to people and what kind of issues they might have with it.
Yeah. And even if they say, I don't feel comfortable with that, that's okay too, because some people don't like to explain their no. They just want to say no and be done. But that's okay too. I mean, and a no, remember, a no is just a redirection. A no can be like, oh, okay, this is a no, I should focus somewhere else. Like one of my students, she wanted to go to that horse rescue, and I've shared that story before, and they were rude to her. She didn't like their response to her. She was really hurt. But then it was like, that's just the universe saying absolutely no, you should not go there. And sometimes the universe will have people be rude to us so we get it. Because if someone's rude to us and we're like, oh, then I am not going there. Well, then the universe goes, yeah, because you're not supposed to. So we're going to redirect you. And then she ended up on Facebook or something, and she got connected within a week with a really great rescue that wanted her there. So, a no is sometimes just the universe saying, no, that's not where you should go. You should go here. Because a lot of times we don't trust our gut. We don't trust, what we're feeling, because we might feel off about it. And she was feeling off when she reached out, because she told me other things. And I was like, well, she probably shouldn't have been reaching out to that horse rescue in the first place. It wasn't a good fit for her. And then the universe is like, okay, you're not listening to your own gut. So I'm going to yell at you until you get back over there on the path. And then now she's at a shelter that she loves. So just remember that. Don't take no's personally. And it's hard not to. I mean, I can't even tell you how many no's I've cried over, especially in my cannabis business. I mean, it's breaking to hear a no. And especially when you feel so excited and you're so prepared and you're sharing something and they're like, no. And it's, but if you stop and you think about it and you go, okay, you know what, actually that wasn't a good fit for me, or I'm open, universe, I'm open. If this was a no, then please show me something that's a yes. So does anyone have any? Yes, Judy. Yes, I would love to hear from you. Hello.
Hello. So when I was very first starting out with Animal Reiki, I had a friend, we were going out with another friend of hers to a play. And she said to me, in the side of mine, she said, don't tell her anything about the Reiki. Don't mention the Reiki to her. I said, oh, okay, so that's fine. We were just going to a play. That's fine. And then on the way home, when she wasn't with us anymore, I said, so now I'm just going to ask you, like, why was I not supposed to say anything about Reiki? And this woman was a Seventh-day Adventist. And in her belief system, and this is where we have to have compassion for everybody, in her belief system, if you do Reiki, you're opening a portal to hell when you practice. It's what you're doing when you meditate. So I'm really glad that I didn't make light of that and say, oh, I'm just going to talk to her about it anyway or whatever. There are some people that you just really have to step back and say, if I was her and believe that, I would be terrified to be sitting next to this person at this play who might potentially be opening some portal next to me. So it's just having compassion for other people's beliefs, and there's room for that. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you feel like you need to keep pressing, just step back instead, I think is the better plan.
That's great advice, Judy, because everybody's coming from their own perception, right? And this is the thing with Reiki. This came up, Kelly, I don't know if you remember this, but this came up when 2007, 2008 in SARA, where there was a time where the Catholic Church was like, oh, Reiki's bad because it's hands-on healing. Like people are trying to be Jesus, right? So for religious, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's something that is going to come up for you. And this is another reason why when you say meditation can be seen as religious, because that's we have the word mindfulness now. Do you know that mindfulness and meditation are the exact same thing? John Kabat-Zinn, who brought meditation, made it more westernized, had to use the word mindfulness, because if you said meditation back in the 70s, people thought it was a religious practice and they wanted nothing to do with it. Kind of like, what we're experiencing with Reiki now. But mindfulness and meditation are the same thing. So they're used like, oh, mindfulness and meditation, but it's really the same thing. But he used that word mindfulness to step back from the religious aspect, right? We're focused on mindfulness. Same thing with Reiki and meditation. If we say Reiki, we might be offending people. We might be scaring people, like Judy's saying. But if we're talking about meditation and mindfulness, you can even say, oh, I do a mindfulness practice with the animals. And what that does is I just create a very calm space through meditation, whatever that is. But we can then disconnect from that religious aspect, because even Melody, the one who asked for the studies, was saying that people can be scared of Reiki because of the religious aspect of it. And we do have to honor that. Some people, it's very offensive to them. And even though we know we're not opening a portal and we know what we're doing, like Judy said, we don't want to scare or offend somebody. And that could be really frightening. I mean, I think if I thought somebody could open a portal to hell and they were sitting next to me, I think I would be a little hesitant about that. I think that's so funny. I've never heard that, a portal to hell. That's so great. So does anyone have any comments or just like anything they want to share before I get to Mary Lynn? You can just unmute. You can just say something. You can just raise your hand. I promise if you have anything. Oh, Erica.
I just want to say hi because I'm never on video because I'm a dog walker, animal companion. So when I get to listen, I'm working with dogs, as you can see. So I love all your insight, and I'm part of SARA, and have done your level 1 and Kathleen's 1 and 2 with her online. So I'm just here and listen.
Well, we're so glad to have you, Erica. So happy to have you there. And thank you for plugging Kathleen's class. Yeah, if you haven't studied with us, Kelly's got some classes coming up in March. I have some classes coming up in March. I think Kathleen has classes coming up in April. I'm going to do a live version. I was supposed to do the live version of the Animal Reiki for Reiki practitioners class in February, but I'm going to do it in October. Probably do a level 3 in October at CARE. That's an incredibly magical place to go. Lisa's been there. Kelly's been there. Beth has been there. We need to get Judy out there. So a lot of some of you have been there, and it's a really incredible place to go study Animal Reiki, because you get to have the benefit of learning from tiger, bear, crocodile. It's really wonderful. And then, oh yeah, Kelly, you want to share about that, about the vet that you spoke to?
Yeah, I originally we had a letter to send out to vets and talking about what we did from Sarah. Remember that letter? And I sent it out to all the local vets who did Chinese medicine and things like that. And this vet, 2 years later, the vet tech found my letter and invited me to come and speak to the staff. And it went great. And the vet was all excited. And she had me work with a dog that was stray, and went really well. And she was going to have a big bulletin board for me to present everything. And they were going to put me on the website. And then the next day I get a call from her. She had spoken to her mentor, her vet mentor, I guess, who told her that we work with entities. And she was just like, she was going to come to the class, and we were having a class, and she just backed out of the class. But she said, well, my staff still want to do it, so you can still come. But she wasn't going to be there. And it was really unusual. I've never had that happen. And I said, well, that's not my experience, and that's not how I work with Reiki. It's very peaceful and, compassionate. But I understand. And I mean, there's nothing you can do there. But it was so weird. She did this whole turnaround after setting all this stuff up for me over what one person told her.
Yeah, I think
that
that's
reminded me of it.
Where the fear comes in. And oh yeah, and Alice, I muted you, but I'm going to unmute you because I know that you unmuted to speak. But yeah, no, I think that also, in a situation like that, your first indication, or your first what am I trying to say? You might first want to go, oh my gosh, no, and then argue and then, try to convince them, but you really can't. You have to allow it to just be and go, okay, you can say, well, that's not what we do, but I completely honor what your choice is. And that was the smartest thing to do. But it's also really hard too. But again, here's the problem with the word Reiki. Reiki means a lot of things to a lot of different people. So we have to just be really careful. And that's why meditation, mindfulness practice so much easier. So, we're getting down to time. Alice, yes, you had a question. Oh, we can't hear you. You're on mute still. Here, let me see if I can ask you to unmute. There you go.
Yeah, I'm I'm in England, UK, and I work in a very similar way to Let Animals Lead, and I've read Kathleen's books, etc. But I was just wondering if it's possible to join in the classes and the training with the time difference and things. Is it possible to?
So we have classes, usually all of us teachers will teach a morning session, like either 9 or 10 a.m. Pacific time. So that would be, around 4 your time. And then we do the night ones, which wouldn't work. And then sometimes afternoon ones, which would be kind of late for you. So usually the morning sessions are when the UK people can join.
Yeah, well, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, we would love to have you. And then, so Carolyn had to leave, but I'm so glad she could join us. So let's now, since we're at time, let's go to just a quick meditation, and we're going to do the Joshin Kokyoho meditation, where we're going to ground ourselves. So this is just a foundational meditation that we do, and it's a beautiful one that you can share with animals, no matter if you're a Let Animals Lead practitioner or not. So we go into Gasho, which is bringing our hands together. It's a beautiful meditation. Just bringing your hands together at your heart, bringing yourself into balance, giving yourself just a minute to just collect yourself and bring calm into your body just by bringing your hands together. And we set our intention that we're open to receive whatever it is that we need most at this moment in time. And we're open to holding space for all sentient beings. And whenever you're ready, you can bring your hands face up or face down on your lap. And we're just going to do a couple cleansing breaths. Breathing in through your nose, pulling your breath deep into your belly, expand your belly, and then slowly release your breath out your mouth as if you were blowing out a straw. So you purse your lips into a little small O on the out breath. Breathing in deeply to your belly, making sure you expand your belly, and then slowly releasing your breath out your mouth. And with your out breath goes any tension you're holding on to in your body, any stress, any tightness in your shoulders. Feel your body start to relax, start to become more peaceful. And now let's bring our breath into a nice, relaxed rhythm, breathing gently in and out. You can breathe out through your nose or through your mouth, whichever is more comfortable. And now I want you to envision the breath that you're breathing in as a beautiful, clear light. Pull that light deep into your belly. And when the light hits your belly, imagine that it is igniting a light within you. And on the out breath, the light within you starts to expand. Breathing in light, igniting the light at your belly, and then expanding that light at your belly in the out breath. With every in-breath, the light grows brighter, and with every out-breath, the light expands. Now, this light can be white, gold, purple, can be multicolored. It is your own unique light. This is the light that the animals see. It is your beautiful light of love, compassion, and peace. Envision this light growing brighter and brighter within you, filling your entire body with light. Feel every cell of your being filled with this beautiful light. And now in the out breath, imagine the light is so big within you that it starts to seep out your body like a beautiful mist, engulfing you in this beautiful bubble of light. With every breath in and out, your light grows brighter and stronger. And I'd like you to bring to mind an animal you love deeply. It can be an animal that's with you or an animal that's passed. And see them as a beautiful light. Invite them to join you. Feel their light merging with yours, coming together in this beautiful space of love. When their light connects with yours, feel that increase of love, of joy, of compassion. When we connect with our animals, our whole being, our whole soul is elevated. We join them in that beautiful, expanded space of love and peace and compassion. And just take a moment and really appreciate the space you've created with your animal. Feel your love for them being mirrored back to you. Now slowly start to bring yourself back, but keep your animal with you in your heart. And just start to bring that sensation of expansion back into your body. Maybe you wiggle your hands and bring yourself back into Gasho. And give thanks for your animal who joined you or animals. And give thanks to yourself for this practice. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. I love how Kathleen rubbed her face. I like doing that too, Kathleen, when you come out of meditation. Just put your hands. It's a great way to wake yourself up too. Just bring yourself back into that physical body. And don't forget, Kathleen has her 21-day meditation. I'm not sure if any of you are doing that. I'm doing that. I know Kelly's doing that. I think Beth and Judy are doing that. Mary Lynn's doing that. It's a great way to get into your practice. You don't have to have Let Animals Lead experience. You don't have to have Reiki experience. It's just a reminder of how we can let go of our anger and a reminder of the beautiful lessons that the animals have to give us. Oh, and Mary Lynn, really quickly, for those of you who can stay, I'm sorry, you wanted to do a share. And oh, Jeremy's doing it too. Yay.
Okay. Okay. Hi. All right. I have a friend who whose dog was nearing its end of life, and through this process, I was helping. The dog's name is Chrissy, and I was helping with the process of crossing and also helping my friend. So that was 10 days ago. She informs me 3 days ago that she showed me pictures of a pointer, a senior pointer whose name is Jill, that she will be adopting. And I asked, oh, where? Oh, it's coming from Texas. I said, oh, what's the mode of transportation? Oh, a van. I said, oh. And then she said this. The bus driver's name is Chrissy, the same name as her beloved dog. And I had a feeling that Chrissy, prior to this, I had a feeling that Chrissy was bringing this pointer Jill, and the bus driver's name. Can you get over that?
No. Isn't that crazy? I love those signs that everything is right, right?
Yeah.
You love those signs when they happen. It's just the animals telling us this is meant to be. This is the right path.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Thank you, Mary Lynn. That is just such
I was happy, right?
Yeah. Yes. And that happens so much. It happens so much. We have to be open to that. So Lisa hadn't received her invitation to the 21-day meditation. I'll send that to you. If for anyone else, you can also go to the animalreikisource.com website. I think that Kathleen has a link on the first page there. But Erica is doing the 21-day meditation. Jemmy is doing it. And yes. And then Kathleen said she often refers to the Reiki she does at the shelter as energy work to assist with healing. Yeah, that's, if that's what you want to say. We have to be careful too when we say energy work as well too, because it can be considered like woo. So again, I use meditation, but whatever you can get a response with. I mean, if people respond to energy work, then great, do that. And they can actually see what you're doing and they see that you're not harming the animals. So there is that as well. And then Kelly says, the more we practice, the more we see these messages. Yes. And then Liza's doing the 21 day. So yes, the 21 day is such a great way for all of us. So I have tried to do the 21 day, but can't receive it for some reason. I'm not sure what that means, Alice, because you should be able to log on to the website and that's where all the recordings are. So I'm not sure. I think Alice had to go, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not a regular email. We have to go into the Animal Reiki Source website and access through there.
Yeah, definitely. So okay. And then, I think that we have covered everything. Thank you all so much for staying and for staying late and for hearing Mary Lynn's beautiful story. And next week is my favorite day of the whole entire year. I love. Like I will wake up and be like, I cannot stand it. It is a day dedicated to love. And I'm not talking about men. Men will disappoint you and ruin Valentine's Day for you. They will ruin it for you. I am here to say it. They will ruin Valentine's Day because they just don't get it. But women, we have so much love. So on that day, it's just, you just share that beautiful heart of yours to everybody. And I'm telling you, magic is going to occur. It is such a special day. So we're going to talk about how our practice cultivates love and how we can share it, because it is that day dedicated to love. I mean, I feel like it's my Christmas. Valentine's Day is my jam. I love it more than my birthday, more than anything. You cannot get me upset and sad. You can ruin my birthday. You can ruin my Christmas. You cannot ruin Valentine's Day. It is so I can't wait for all of us to be together and to amplify love out to the world. So, it's your anniversary, Mary Lynn. Oh my God, it's actually my friend.
Valentine's Day.
Perfect.
Valentine's Day as well. That's a beautiful day. It's a day of love, right?
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Leah, for leading us.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Have
Thanks,
a good
Leah.
week.
Yeah, of
Thank you,
course. Thank you,
everybody.
Beth. Bye. Bye, Judy. Bye, Anne. Bye, Lisa. Bye, Carolyn. Bye, Alice. Bye, T.